Okay, great. So now that we've got this homepage of Core loaded up, the first thing we're going to do is log in. If you have an account already, you can go ahead and log in. If you don't have one, but you'd like to register for one, it's free, quick, and easy. Just go ahead and click on the register button in the top right corner. Once you do that, I'll just open it up in a new page here. You'll see a screen that looks like this. So this is just going to ask you for some basic information, things like your name, your institutional email address, and so on. The only thing that I'd call out here is if you are an instructor who's on the call today. So if you're a professor or you teach students, so on, just go ahead and make sure to click this little box here that says, "Are you an instructor?" Just click on yes. The reason for that is because the same login that you use for this site, Cambridge Core, is going to be the same one as the one that you use for our higher education site. So if you are an instructor who uses any of our textbooks or other supplementary learning materials, once we've approved you, you can get access to a lot of those additional materials. So things like test banks, slide decks, and other supplementary material that can be useful when you're getting your class set up. Okay, so once you've gone ahead and done that, you should have an account. Usually you'll get an email response. It's usually automatic, but if you don't hear back within the day, just let us know and we can set that up for you. All right, so here we are again back on our home page. I'm going to go ahead and click on the login button this time in the top right corner, and it's going to bring me to this section. So I'm going to go ahead and use my particular account. If you'd like to log in with through your institution instead, you can go ahead and do that. Or if you're a member of an academic society, you can choose your society there. So I'll click on login one more time. Great. So you should get a green banner at the top, just telling you that you've logged in successfully. And you'll notice as well that there's a little icon in the top right corner that says access provided by, and it should list your institution. So as a bit of background, Core was first launched in 2016, and it was designed with the researcher and the research journey in mind. It currently features over 1 million journal articles and 40,000 ebooks across 36 different subject areas. Now, of course, that's a ton of content. So to make sense of all that content, there's a few different ways that you can conduct a search on Cambridge Core. One of the ways that I might recommend, especially if you're less familiar with what we offer, is to just take a look at the subjects. So in the top left corner, there's going to be a tab that says Browse Subjects. If you click on that and open it into a new page, you're going to see 36 different subject hubs. Every one of these hubs is going to have the same kinds of content. So I'll just pick a subject at random here. Let's do history. We'll give that a second to load. Great. So for any subject hub, you can see things like the top journals in that field that we offer. You can see things like ebooks, or subject areas for ebooks that are listed. You'll also see things like new titles that have popped up, new series that have popped up, and any linked social media accounts. It looks like this one isn't too popular, but you may also see things like blogs that connect to it, a Twitter or an X account, Facebook, so on. All right, so I'll come back to our main page here. And so today we're talking about journals, of course, but if you don't know, again, exactly what it is you're looking for, you can also move to this next tab, which is Publications. So I'll go ahead and open that up. And so while we will be looking at journals, which I'll go ahead and open up, you can also take a look at some of the other content types that we have. So you can see things like our ebooks, collections, and series. There's textbooks, which will take you out to that higher education site that I mentioned earlier. There are elements, which is kind of a hybrid between books and journals publishing, more information about open access, and so on. So I definitely encourage you, especially if you are less familiar with the site, take a minute, play around with what's available there, and then you can find content that you may not have known existed. All right, so we'll close this page for now. And here's our listing of journals. So I believe there's 420 or so journals. You can find them here on this lovely list. If you want to make your search a little bit easier, you can use the search and filter features at the top. So you can do that alphabetically. You can do that by subject, however you want to delimit your search. All right. Now, of course, you don't have to go through the journal list every time. You can, of course, just search for content. This is particularly useful if you know exactly what it is you're looking for. So it doesn't have to be all the way down to the specificity of the level of the title. It could be something like the general subject area, and then you can use those searching and refining features to kind of whittle down what you're looking for. So as an example, let's say that I am a data scientist and I recently started working with a group of maybe climate scientists. So I want to find something that a journal that kind of covers the overlap between those two fields. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I might try something like just some generic search terms here. So let me do something like data, and I might say maybe an environment. But you can see automatically as I'm typing, we get some suggestions, both in terms of journals and in terms of books. So I might continue my search. I'll do something like data plus environment. And in this particular case, we got lucky in that there's a perfect journal, looks like, just called Environmental Data Science. You won't always be so lucky, but even in those cases where you're not, you'll be able to filter to find exactly what it is you're looking for. So here, again, we've got a ton of content, more than 100,000 results here. So what I can do is use the filtering features on the left-hand side, these search parameters, to get to exactly the kind of thing that I'm looking for. So in this case, for example, because we're talking about journals today, I might go ahead and select journals from the content type area. Okay, cool. And you can see we've got a couple more suggestions. This is pretty good. And I can get as specific as I want. So if I want to go down to the subject, or maybe there's just a particular article that I'm looking for, and I know that it was published in the last, maybe it was 6 months or year or something like that. I can go ahead and enter in a date range. If there's an author that I follow a lot, or maybe that I collaborate or work with, I can go ahead and enter their name in here, and so on. So take a look at those, see what it is you're looking for. The journal we mentioned earlier, Environmental Data Science, looks like it made it to the list. So I'll go ahead and just open that up. Great, so we've got a new tab here. You can ignore the bright blue content there. That's just because we're looking at an admin account right now, but it won't be visible on your side. All right. So here we are on the landing page of a particular journal. And you can see there's a lot of different tabs over here. So by default, we're going to end up on the journal homepage. Now, every journal page is going to look slightly different. So they may have a different order of tabs here, or they might have one or two additional tabs, but they're all going to cover the same basic functions. Those functions are going to include things like access to the journal issues. They're going to include tabs for, let's say, the most read or the most cited articles. You'll also have a button at the top always to submit your article. So if you are, excuse me, looking to publish in this particular area or for any of our 400 plus journals, you can go ahead and click on the submit button, and that's going to walk you through the process of what are the next steps. So things like signing into your OPRS, that's your online peer review system, formatting. So if there's any particular things you need to do for your data or your tables, your charts to get that into the system, that's fine. But it's going to tell you as well, what the journal is looking for. So if your submission is appropriate for that particular title and so on. Okay, so just like before, just like when we saw some of those subject area landing pages, it's a lot of similar types of content. So at the top, for example, we might see a list of things like some of the latest articles, so published in the most recent issue. We can also see some other things along the right-hand side here. So there might be a specific collection. In this case, because we're looking at environmental data science, we've got that intersection of those two fields. So they've got a special collection here on smart cities. If you are thinking about publishing, you may want to take a look at the editorial board, or just click on the thing that says view instructions for authors. That can be really helpful as well. But you can see similar types of content. Again, those social media accounts that are linked, looks like this Twitter hasn't been active in a while, but you've got YouTube and so on here. Okay, so we've talked about the landing page of the journal itself. Let's take a look at some of the articles, and we can see what the article level page looks like. So here all I've done is clicked into the most read. Again, you can browse any issues that you like. I've just clicked into this one because it's going to pull up some of the more their popular ones. I'll go ahead and open up this first article right here. And this one is called Machine Learning for Smart and Energy Efficient Buildings. Cool. All right, so here we are on the landing page of a particular article. If you want to skip to a particular section, you can go ahead and use the left-hand navigation here. So if, for example, you just want to learn about the machine learning aspect of it, just click on it and it'll automatically bring you to it. You may also notice at the top, there's a little tab area separating out the different types of content that are included here. So if you just want to read through the article, that's fine. You can also click on figures just to pull out all of the charts and interactive data visualizations that are listed in there, and so on. One thing that I'll mention here is that you can of course read the article as you see it here, which is an HTML format. But if you are someone who has different accessibility needs, or if you work with folks who have those needs, students or other researchers or so on, what I'd recommend is using the PDF feature instead. So you can go ahead and save the PDF. You can download it. You can save it on your local device if you want, or if you want to use something like a cloud-based account, that's fine. Just go ahead and choose the one that you want. So Dropbox, Google Drive, or Kindle. But again, for folks who need different kinds of accessibility tools, the HTML format will work fine. We've tested it across a number of different programs, and it does work. But I find personally that the PDF version is a little bit easier. So if you're using things like a screen reader or a text-to-speech program or anything like that, just try the PDF instead. Cool. One other feature I'll call out while we're here is the citation button. For those of you who are instructors on the call, we've also found that this option is really popular with students, and that's just because it saves them a lot of time when they're writing things like research papers and so on. So the way it works is you click on the Cite button, and it's going to bring you to a page that looks like this. So from here, you can go ahead and choose the citation format. So it looks like they gave us an MLA by default, but you can change that to whatever you like from the list. Maybe I'll do, I don't know, Chicago to Arabian. And you can see it automatically adjusts for me. So I can take that, I can copy it to my clipboard, and then I can just paste it into the research paper that I'm working on. If you're a researcher who works with an external reference system, that's fine. Just go ahead and download it, and you'll be able to use it just the same. I'm old enough now to remember having to manually type in citations when I was writing papers myself. So I think I can speak for students here in saying that it will save you a lot of time, and I think they'll appreciate that. All right. Cool. So these are some of the basic overview features for our researchers. I do want to shift gears a little bit now and talk about some of the features and functions that we have for librarians and for administrators as well. So the first thing I'd call out for our librarians who are on the call is this blue My Account area. This isn't limited to just librarians. Anyone who signs up with an account, a Cambridge Core account, is going to have this area. But for our librarians and for our administrators, it's going to look a little bit more detailed. You'll have more options and things. Now, again, we're not going to go through all of these features today. So if you'd like to receive additional training or just more detailed information on some of the advanced features of administering your account as an account admin, just send us an email and we're happy to set up additional trainings for you. I'll provide an email address in the chat right now, and that's going to be academictraining@cambridge.org. Great. So again, here we are in the My Account area. And what you can do is, what I'd recommend first is when you're getting started with this, take a look at your content holdings. So this is going to show you all the content that you have access to across both journals and books products. Today we talked about, or we focused on journals, of course, but if you're a librarian who just wants to be able to manage all of your holdings in one place, this is the place to go. So you can just download a quick Excel sheet where you can see, what's available, things like the ISBNs, the edition numbers, and so on. So that's a nice, easy way to do that. One thing I'd recommend also for both our librarians and for our researchers is taking advantage of this content requests area. So, let's say, for example, you're a researcher on the call. If you happen to find some content that you don't currently have access to, maybe it's an ebook or something like that, what you can do is when you click on that particular title, even though you don't have access to it, there will be a little button that says recommend to librarian. Once you click that, it's going to send a notification to this area right here for the librarian called content requests. Now, for each librarian, this can be really helpful when you're making purchasing decisions for your next year. There's not a lot of guesswork because instead your researchers have told you, we need this exact title for the area that we're publishing in or for our students next year or so on, right? So that can be a really guided way to know exactly what your institution needs. So you can see that for any given request, you can see the type here. You can see a title, the number of people who've requested it, and when they made that request. If you click on the View Details button, that's going to show you just any notes that they've added in here. Again, we're looking at a test account now, which is why we see this particular message. But if you're a researcher, you might say something to your librarian like, we need this urgently, or this can wait till next year, or whatever you'd like to include for them. For those librarians, you can go ahead and adjust your notification settings up here. So if you want to receive an alert every time a researcher makes that request or a student makes that request, you can go ahead and set yourself up. If you only want to see them, on a more limited basis, a weekly or monthly, that's fine too. But you can go ahead and just manage those in your settings. Also worth mentioning for our librarians is the usage statistics section. So again, lots of options here. All you're going to do is click into usage stats. And this is going to bring you to, or it's going to allow you to, pull Counter 5 compliant reports for either books or journals. I know there's a varying level of familiarity with Counter 5. So if you're not sure what all of the counter related acronyms mean, don't worry about it. It can get very confusing to kind of juggle between things like what's a TRJ1 or what's a TRB2 or things like that. So what we've done instead is provided a couple of links here where you can explore and see, what do these different things mean? So what does it mean to have a JR1 or a BR2 or so on? And this way you can choose the most appropriate option for your particular needs. I'll go ahead and close that out. Okay, so we could spend, of course, an entire session just on Counter, so we won't do that today. But if you do want to receive additional training on Counter specific stuff or any of the librarian features, again, do please reach out to us. The way this works is Counter is going to allow you to pull whole month data. So what that means, of course, is, we haven't finished April yet, so April won't be available, but the last full month, which is March of 2024, will be available. So you can choose your starting month, you choose your ending month, and year, of course, and then you just choose the report type. So again, these are those acronyms we were talking about. Just choose the one that's most appropriate. Excuse me. I might say something like, maybe a book's access denied. So these are things that people have requested that they don't have access to, whatever you like. And then you'll go ahead and request the file, and you'll receive a notification once that's complete. So this is loading here. If you want to pull the same kinds of reports again and again, I'll say that those reports should be available for about 24 hours on your account. So you don't have to go back and re-pull the same one. You can just go ahead and download it when it's ready. Cool. I guess the last thing I'll mention here is the user guides and training section. So if you are, unclear about any of those features or anything else that's covered under the My Account area, take a look at this section. Again, the user guides and training. So this is all short form content that we've created. It's only 2 or 3 minutes a piece per video. So this is going to show you things like how to, change your account settings or how to get those usage stats that we just talked about. As well as things like some of the more detailed records for our librarians. So KBART lists, MARC records, and so on. As well, if you need or if you'd prefer, instead of watching a video, to have PDF content, we do have guides that are available, I believe, in 10 different languages. If your language is not offered there, do reach out to us and we're happy to build out content for your specific needs. Okay, the last thing I'll mention, and this is skipping around a little bit, is our metrics and alt metrics tab. This can be useful for both librarians and for researchers, but I do want to make you aware of it while we're here. So let's come back to actually our journal here. So we were looking at environmental data science just before. So here's just a listing of articles. I'm going to go ahead and click into this guy right here. Great. So, we took a look before at the articles tab and the figures tab and so on, but there's one other section right here, and that is our metrics tab. So this is going to allow you to see metrics on some pretty basic content. So things like full text views, for example, abstract views, and this is going to chart that over time. But there's also one other neat feature here, which I'll call attention to, and that's the alt metric score. So depending on excuse me, the type of publication, if it's a book, a journal, so on, you'll see a little colorful ring that looks like this, and that's our alt metric score. So some of you may be familiar with this already, but for anyone who's new to it, altmetrics are basically a way of tracking the different kinds of online attention that a given publication is receiving through all sorts of channels. So they call this the donut, the altmetric donut. And so in this little visualization, each color is going to correspond to a different type of online attention. So for example, this red one right here corresponds to, it looks like news outlets. So we can see, a huge chunk of people who are talking about this particular article about ethical responsibility, responsible and trustworthy AI, are mentioning it in the news. And that tracks, that makes sense. We can also see, folks who are talking about it on blogs, on, social media and so on, as well as research outlets as well. Something about this that I find really helpful is that it doesn't just break down the amount of attention, it also tells you where those people are located as well as who they are. So you can see in this particular case, we've got, a lot of folks from the US, but we've also got some people in Europe, across the rest of the Americas, as well as South Asia. You can see who they are. So, are these scientists? Are these lay people? Are these decision makers and so on? And that can be really helpful to see, how your particular article is, if you're a researcher, how your particular article is being received, who's picking it up, who's following it, and so on. One thing that's nice as well is as people mention it more and more on some of these social media accounts, you can see what people are saying. So are these positive reviews? Are these negative reviews? Are they just sharing it to their own network? Things like that. All right, so that's probably a good place to stop for now. I'm happy to take questions on anything that we've covered today. That can be either, researchers who want to know a bit more about how to search and find their things or publish, or it could be from librarians who, want to know more about administering their account. I'm going to go ahead and start by checking the Q&A to see if we have any questions. But if you'd like, you can also just type something into the chat. Okay, not seeing anything in the Q&A feature or in the chat. Does anyone have anything that they were unsure about or needed any more clarity on? It can be anything we talked about today or just setting up a future session if you need. Let's give that one more minute just in case anyone has any questions. As well, I know not everyone is going to be comfortable asking a question in a big open public forum like this. So if you'd prefer to email in your question as well, that's fine too. I'll provide that email address. So again, that's academictraining.cambridge.org. Give it one more minute just in case anyone's a little camera shy here. Thanks so much for your comment. So it looks like we got a question in the comments here. So Violetta asks, could we have access at this registration? Violetta, I'm a little unclear about what you mean. If you'd like to sign up for or register for an account, it's totally free, and you can do that on your end. Just go ahead to the Cambridge Core like homepage, and you'll see that register button. But if I've misunderstood your question, let me know, and I'm happy to clarify. Okay, great. Sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and pop my email address into the chat as well if anyone wants to reach out for any other training needs. Again, my name is Gifty Abraham, and that will be right here. Great. All right, well, if there's no other questions, thank you so much for your time, everyone. I realize it's the end of the day, so I appreciate everyone popping in on a Friday afternoon. Thanks again for your time, and we'll see you at the next one. All right, take care, everyone, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.